Hello friends, welcome to Quality Sewing and Vacuums How Do I tutorial today. My name is Andrea Hayden and I'm the Sew Fun manager here at Quality Sewing and Vacuum. Today I am going to be showing you how do I cut out apparel with a rotary cutter. Usually we love to use our rotary cutters with our straight rulers and to make our quilts fabulous, and it is so beautiful for that. But today we're going to set aside our straight rulers and we are going to actually cut out apparel with our rotary cutter. Okay, so first thing that you want to do when you start preparing to cut out is you want to get your pattern. Today I am using the Elio top. This is to this month's pattern with Sew Fun. So if you would like to see a finished product, you can go and check it out there. So there's this beautiful top right here. What I've done is I took it all out and I found my size, and you can see I've already cut out my pieces. And sometimes when you get your pieces, sometimes the corners are all kind of folded and mingly. So I took a second with my hot iron and I just kind of folded out, or not folded out, but ironed out those wrinkles in there so it lays nice and flat, because when you use your rotary, you want to be able to get all of the edges perfectly. Okay, so what I've done is I've laid out my fabric here. I've got my folded edge right here towards me. Now in this pattern, it's a stretchy knit pattern, and you want to make sure that it has a four-way stretch. Now, what is four-way stretch? Four-way means it goes sideways, side to side, and top to bottom. So it stretches all four ways like this. And that's what I have. I picked out a double brushed poly knit right here, and it feels beautiful. It's going to wash up nice and fabulous when I need to wash it. Okay, so the next thing we need are weights. We have these little Dritz weights. They kind of, back in the day, if you remember hacky sacks, they kind of feel like a little hacky sack, and they're beautiful and they weigh, I don't know what they have in it, but it's perfect right here. So I placed this pattern piece needs to be placed on the fold right here. So I place it right along the fold, and I'm going to tack it down these two edges that I want right here. I've got all kinds of colors, but this one I found, if I put it down sideways, it has kind of a little corner and it goes into the corner there. Now I like to make sure that I have weights on any corners or long curves. So you can see that I'm placing a weight in this corner, this corner, this corner. I'm going to stick a weight right here, and this is kind of a longer piece right here. I'm going to place a weight right here and right here in the corner. Okay, and now it's ready to cut out. We are used to, oh, I forgot to tell you about these scissors. These are the little Karen K. Buckley scissors, and I really love these because they have a little serrated edge on them, and so they grab things. And these are what I actually use to cut out my pattern. You don't want to use your regular sewing scissors when you cut out pattern because it's paper, right? So I have a pair of scissors set aside just for cutting out my papers. And we're going to use these again in just a minute because these have a fabulous tip on them right there. Okay, so we use those scissors to cut our patterns out. Now, I borrowed this one from here at Tequila, and when I tested it in a little corner over there really quickly, and I'm glad I did, because I want you to see what it looks like when your blade is dull. Heaven forbid. There's a huge difference between your blade being sharp and fresh and it being dull. So come with me. We're going to start cutting this out right here. I'm going to press this little button. This is the Quilter Select. And so you press this little button here, and there's a little button, a little lever on the back here. And I'm going to press it over to that side. And then I'm going to use it to cut. And one thing I love about the Quilter Select is that it's weighted, and it's got a lot of weight to it. Okay, come down here with me. I'm going to start right here. And you're going to see how fast and easy it is when you have a sharp blade versus a not sharp blade. So I'm going to roll it right along here, And just so you can see, I set that down here. My fabric isn't separating, so my blade is really, really dull. Can you see? It's not separating at all. Okay, so we are going to probably not use our fingers to do that. I'm going to flip this over like this. I'm going to release it like that. And there, I've released my old dull blade. I'm going to set that aside. Usually I have my little containers, and one says new and one says old. And I actually keep my old blades because I like to also use it if I have to cut out paper as well. You could use it to cut out your pattern pieces too, if you like. So I'm going to set that guy aside right there. I'm going to grab out a new blade, maybe. There we go. I'm going to slide that out right there. And when you slide them out, they do have kind of a little bit of an oil on them. That's to keep them from sticking to each other. All right. I'm going to stick that in there. And right in here. Is it like a key? I'm doing it the right way, aren't I? Oh, you just have to be smarter than the blade, right? So I've got it in there. And you just put that back, and voila, you've got a new blade on there. So now let's try it again, and we'll see what it's like when you have a fresh blade. So I'm going to press my button, slide that up so it's open. I'm going to run it right along my edge right here. Did it cut? Yes, it did. Look at the difference between that. Okay, look at my beautiful line that goes right along the edge of my pattern. I cut out my patterns with a regular pair of sewing scissors for years and years and years. And one day I went over to my girlfriend's house and she was cutting out her patterns with a rotary blade. And I was shocked. I was like, what are you doing? How can you do that? And she showed me, and my life has never been the same. You are going to save so much time, and you don't have to put pins. You don't have to put pins through your patterns and poke holes in your patterns anymore. It will save your cutout time and cut it down by half. Okay, so watch as I cut out the rest of this pattern piece here. We're just going to follow right along the edge, right around here, like this. Just slide that down there, right along like this, right along like this, and voila. Here's all these extra pieces. I go along all of the edges. Oh, I missed one little spot here. That's because this is such a loved mat. That's the spot where they cut half-yard pieces right there. Oop. All right, but that was the only spot right there. I'm going to close that up. You always want to close it up when you're in between. Okay, so now on this pattern in particular, if you remember, some of our pattern pieces have the little triangles that are markers that mark places on your patterns. This one doesn't, and I love it because this is the way I mark the different markings on my pattern. So I take a pair of my sharp scissors and I go and I find the line. This one has little lines right here where it used to be a little triangle. I've seen people like go and like cut out the triangles beautifully, and that's wonderful. But I don't have time for that. I've got 5 kiddos, not a whole lot of time on my hands. So I take my scissors with the little corner, the tip of it, and I just snip. I make a little snip right like that. And it goes right into the seam allowance. Do I have any more? Yep, I have a double one right here. So where that would have been 2 little double triangles, it's just going to be a double snip right there and right there. And that looks like it. That's all the snips I have. I'm going to take my weights off just like this. And I like to, if I'm in between, if I've only got time to cut out my pattern, but I don't have time to quite sew it yet, then I fold all of it together and I set it aside, just like that. We're going to fold out the rest of this. Set that out there. I'm a waste not, want not kind of gal. As you're going along the edges, make sure that your edges, this doesn't overlap underneath. The underneath part is shorter than the top part, so that's why I'm putting it away from the edge that much. I'm going to set out my little weights here. I'm going to put 2 out because this is such a big curve right here. I'm doing the half sleeve, so it's going to end about right here. I thought that'd be kind of fun. I'm a big fan of polka dots. Okay, want to watch how fast this is? This is so amazing. I'm just going to slide it through here, here, here. I'm going to cut that off, move it aside. I'm going to move around my fabric. And just like that, my other pattern piece is cut out. Close that because I'm going to go in between. I'm going to go over to my scissors. I'm going to pull away all this other fabric because we don't need that. Look at how that came out beautifully. Now when you do the double snips, that means that's the back part of your sleeve. And a single snip is going to be the front part of your sleeve. So I just marked the back and the front of my sleeve. But let's be honest, it's stretchy fabric, so it's really not going to make that much of a difference, right? Okay. Making sure that it's not still attached anywhere. I'm going to fold that up, and we'll get to sewing that later. I'm going to take the rest of my guys, my little weights right here. Now, you want to make sure you can kind of see how my fabric is kind of poofy right here. So I'm going to release this weight. I'm going to smooth out my pattern right here. Make sure, I'm going to put a weight right on top of that because it wants to lift up a little bit. So I'm going to put a weight there and then put that one here. Now, can I make alterations as I go? Absolutely, as you're using your rotary. So with this pattern, I realized as I was pulling it apart that it is really low. And that's not my taste personally, so I'm going to make a tiny alteration, and instead of having it crisscross underneath my chest area, I'm going to have it crisscross above. And so I took the pattern and I tried it on me, and where I altered it a little bit on here, my original line was this one here, so I added a little bit to it. I tried it on, it still went like right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a little bit more so it goes right above, so I have a nice neckline, because like I said, I'm a mom of 5, and yeah. Anyways, okay, so what I'm going to do here is, so I remember to cut over here and not along my fabric, I'm actually going to put one of my weights right here. And I wanted to show you my little liner. I've got this little Choco liner by Clover. It is so cool. All the chalk is inside of it, and it's on a little rotary. So you get an absolute fine line. And it works better one way than the other, and I can't remember which way it is. So we're gonna figure that out together. So I started my line right about here. And if it's just pulling your fabric and not making a line, then it's backwards. So I'm going to switch it around to the other way, and there it goes. You can hear it. It makes a little clicking noise as you go. Now I chose white right here because my fabric is black, and just like that I've got my line, and it's beautiful. But what I really like, there's this one that's short, but there's this bigger one that's more like a pen, so it's easier to hold. And they come in all different colors. That one was white. This one is silver, which I actually didn't know existed, which is really cool because, like mud, whatever color you're wearing, it's going to be the opposite. Like if you're wearing white, it turns dark, but if you're wearing dark, it turns gray, right? So this is going to show up on darks or light. But also know that these come with refills. So this is the blue, it comes in white, the silver, and then this is the pink refill here. All right, so I've marked my pattern, so it will be a little bit higher on me. That's just my taste. Now I have this little piece right here that I thought I might use, but I'm not going to use it after all. So I'm actually going to just tuck it and fold it underneath there. I'm going to put one here, and then I'm also going to place one right there. So I don't just keep trekking along and keep going with my pattern piece, because I've done that before when I've made alterations, but I followed the pattern piece instead. So I'm going to grab a couple of these so I remember, don't follow the pattern, because I made some alterations. Okay, gonna push that button and release my blade. And the cool thing about this pattern is that there's not many pieces to it. As well, we're gonna go up here, turn my corner. Now I'm gonna set those guys aside because I remembered, and they're sort of in the way. Just slide it up like that. Oh, there's that line, that half-yard line, right there. I'm gonna slowly peel that away to make sure that all of those went. There's a little corner here. I wanna make sure I get that sewing corner. And pull that away. That worked great. I'm gonna come around this other side, maybe, since it's but I am not left-handed. Maybe not. We're just gonna reach really far. I don't think I can do it left. Oh, I can do it this way. Okay, we got this. And I'm pulling it away. There's that half-yard little area right there. All right. Look at that beautiful line. It's glorious. And it was all cut out like that. So this is why I will never use a pair of regular scissors to cut out my things, my patterns anymore. Okay, do I have any lines? I've got a little one right here. We're gonna snip this little area right there. And we're gonna put a little snip here. It says to mark it right there. And we set aside all of our weights like so. And I'm going to fold this together. The reason why I keep these together is because it helps me remember what my pieces were that I cut out right here. And we are all done. Today I used this beautiful Quilter Select cutting board. It is so awesome, so big. And I love how it just covers this whole table. At home, I pull mine out. I keep it behind a shelf in my sewing room, but when I need to cut things out, I bring it out to my kitchen table because I'm not blessed to have a ginormous sewing room. So I take it out to my kitchen table, and it makes a great cutting area. So you want to make sure that you have a cutting mat. Even if you have a small one, what I do, if I don't have a big one like this, and I have more like a half-size one, what I'll do is I will cut one pattern piece out at a time, and I'll just fold the rest of the fabric, kind of fold it back and forth like that at one end, and just cut a little bit out at one time. Or even like a hard floor surface, if you can get down on the floor and cut it on the floor too. You can do that as well. But friends, I'm so glad that you joined us today, and hopefully you will try this out yourself and find that you don't have to pin things. You can use some weights and your rotary cutter and find out some new great things that you can do with your rotary cutter. Happy Valentine's Day from Quality Sewing and Vacuum.